Today I'm starting a new series about my quest to be able to continue riding bikes through my chronic illness. 8 months ago, I was diagnosed with myalgic encephalomyelitis, ME/CFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome. There's a lot to it, and I'll talk about it later, but the whole purpose of this series is to go on a quest, an adventure, a learning experience to find out what technologies and what different ways I can adapt my riding or my bike or my trails to be able to continue enjoying cycling despite chronic illness. A lot of people out there have limitations, disabilities, difficulties riding the way that they used to. And this series is a tribute to you. It's also an experiment for me to go on a learning journey, to learn from other people that have adapted different ways that they ride, and to learn for myself to see if there's any technology or bikes or anything interesting out there that makes it easier for me to be able to enjoy cycling despite my illness. Like many of you, I absolutely love cycling, and mountain biking in particular has brought more joy to my life than any other extracurricular activity. I love riding. I first started mountain biking in the early 90s, and ever since then, I've had an absolute blast exploring the world, trying different trails, meeting up with great people, enjoying the great outdoors, and getting in shape. It's just a wonderful mental thing. It's a wonderful social thing. It's what we look forward to at the end of our work week when we go out riding. In fact, I love cycling so much that I found a way to stop working my traditional 9-to-5 job and work in the mountain bike industry, creating these educational YouTube videos and create content. It's been so much fun being fully engaged and immersed in the mountain bike community. Unfortunately, my health has taken a nosedive for the past couple years, and the last 8 months especially, it's gotten worse and worse and worse, and it's really impacted my riding. And as I share my story, so many people have reached out and said, I'm so glad to hear you share your story. I have similar conditions, similar illnesses, similar limitations, and I thought I was going crazy. Nobody else understood. Finally, someone who understands me. So this video series is a tribute to you guys. Hopefully we can learn together and find creative ways to adapt the way we mountain bike from how we used to and allow us to keep enjoying this amazing sport despite our limitations. Now this series is a side story to Big Brain Party. It's not the main focus. So not every video on this channel is gonna line up with this story and adventure that I'm on to try to find the perfect riding experience that helps me overcome my limitations. But in the spirit of education and experimenting and trying new things, I think it fits really well with the theme we go for here. Now the focus of this video is not my medical condition, but we do need to talk about it just so you guys know what we're dealing with. There's a whole long backstory that I don't need to get into, but for years and years, I've been having chronic health problems, joint pain, lack of energy, increased muscle soreness. I'd go on a ride and maybe a 2-hour ride for 20 miles, and I'd come back, and for the next 8 days, I would have lactic acid in my legs. And this was back when I was riding 5 days a week. So maybe I thought, maybe I'm just over riding, overtraining, so I'd take some time off, and the lactic acid would just stay there like this. My muscles were just sore all the time. And I thought, oh, well, it is what it is. Maybe that's just getting older. I'm going to keep riding, keep bike packing, keep enjoying this, keep creating content. And so I did. And then eventually I started to get extreme knee pain on my rides. I could go about 45 minutes and then the knee pain would kick in. Then a couple weeks later, I'd be 20 minutes into a ride and the knee pain would kick in. And then eventually I always felt knee pain when I was riding. That worried me. I didn't know what it was. And I went to a bunch of doctors. I went to some physical therapists. We couldn't quite find a reason for it. Long story short, I finally got a diagnosis for the joint pain. It's called psoriatic arthritis. But that didn't explain why I'm running out of energy and I'm feeling drained and tired all the time, and why my muscles are just full of lactic acid and they never seem to just bounce back even weeks after a ride. After years and tons of doctor's visits and tons of books and articles and news things online, I finally found a doctor who was able to diagnose what was going on with me. She was able to diagnose me with ME/CFS, myalgic encephalomyelitis, or chronic fatigue syndrome. Hey, that sounded familiar. I was diagnosed with that 20 years ago and I totally forgot about it and moved on. Now we know a whole bunch more about ME/CFS, or chronic fatigue syndrome, but there's still a lot we don't know about it. And to be honest, I'm not even 100% sure this diagnosis is spot on, perfectly correct, but it's the best explanation I've had for what I'm going through. Now, I know the tendency for the viewers is to jump to conclusions and tell me what your diagnosis is. I appreciate your desire to help, but one thing I've learned with dealing with a chronic illness is people need to be heard and listened to more than they need advice. I know you've got the perfect diet, the perfect exercise regime, the perfect supplements or vitamins that would fix all my problems, but that's not actually what I need right now. I'm working with professionals to work through that, and the intentions are good. But remember, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That should remind us that we need to do more listening than speaking and recommending in life. That's one small lesson that this experience has taught me, is the importance of listening and connecting with people rather than jumping straight to fixing their problems, especially people that have been living with this for years. They've heard it all, and what they really need is listening and understanding more than quick fixes. So basically, ME/CFS is a neurological disease. It affects the nervous system, the fight or flight response in your body that is in charge of dealing with stress and pumping up adrenaline and giving you energy when you need it, is broken with me. Now, ME/CFS is different for a lot of different people. Some people are completely bedbound their whole life. They lose their job, they're on disability all the time, they can't even walk. They're wheelchair bound and bedbound, while other people are able to manage it with a job and kind of deal with it. There's a wide spectrum of what happens, and everybody's different, but hopefully I can bring some awareness to this condition through this video. There's still a lot we don't know, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert on anything health, including my own illness, ME/CFS. There's so much more I need to learn. But here's what I've come to learn so far, and maybe this will change as my knowledge increases through time. But basically, imagine your body having a battery of how much energy you have through the day. Most of us go to sleep and our battery gets charged up to 90 to 100% to give us the energy we need to complete that day. With ME/CFS, with me, my body battery's at about 9, maybe 10%. And so I have 1/10 the energy I used to have to complete all the things I need to do. When you have a full battery of 100%, you don't really pay attention to all the little things that eat up your body battery because you've got such a big surplus, you don't feel it so much. But when you have a 9 or 10% body battery, you feel everything, even small things like walking from a far parking spot into the grocery store, standing up for too much time, hiking or riding bikes or doing anything physical or overly emotional or stress. Even just sitting at a computer and working for 3 hours can drain that 9% body battery. So what my doctor had me do, and this has been super helpful, is start each day with a list of all the priorities I need to get done and then cross off over 90% of it because I don't have the energy for it. And it's really forced me to focus on what's important in life. Now, I happen to be a religious person. I'm a strong Christian, and it really shapes my outlook on life. And I have a whole religious perspective of this that I'm not going to get into here. That's not the purpose of this video. But it has given me so much strength as I try to find meaning in this difficulty. But as I look at my list of all the things I need to do in my day, and I cut out 90% of them, I can't just push them off to tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm not going to have 100% battery either. I have to stop doing things that drain my battery that are not absolutely crucial. So if my daughter has a back to school night, I have to save 4% of my body battery for that. So I better make sure that by 2 p.m. I haven't used up all my battery, or I'm done and I won't make it. Or if I do make it and I force myself to go even though I don't have energy, I will pay for it for weeks as I try to rebuild that 2% body battery back up to 9 or 10%. Now, the reason I'm at 9% instead of 100% is because my nervous system is always switched on to fight or flight mode. Think of it like driving a car and you're sitting at a stop sign redlining it. Our nervous system is intended to pump adrenaline into us to keep us alert when danger's around. But when the danger leaves, our nervous system should calm down and you should get back to this calm, resting, polyvagal state. My body doesn't know how to do that. It's always stuck in redline mode. And I don't realize that because I've grown up with it my whole life, and that's just feels normal to me. So my nervous system is completely out of whack. I burn through electrolytes about 5 times faster than the normal person. I have to consume electrolytes like crazy. Otherwise, I get all that muscle soreness. We go through these push and crash cycles where I've got a job to do. I'll push through my 9% battery, and then I'll just crash. And then it'll take a while to get back up. And if I don't let my battery fully recharge, I'll crash again. And I'll just get into this hole where my battery really doesn't recharge. And that's what's been happening for the past couple of years, is I've just been crashing and crashing and crashing deeper, not knowing it, just thinking, man, why do I feel so sick? Why do I have no energy? Why do my knees hurt when I ride? How come I can only go for a 40-minute ride now when I used to go for a 3-day ride? And I didn't know what was going on. So it's been really helpful to have this context. Part of the bummer about this is when you have a 100% body battery, you can feel it when you're getting down into the 20% zone and you kind of stop doing crazy stuff. When you start at the 9% zone, by the time you feel it, you're at the 1% zone and it's too late. And so what I've had to do is time myself and stop myself throughout the day and say, okay, I got to check in. It's 2 o'clock. How's my energy level? I don't feel drained, but let's think about everything I've done and what I need to do. I need to go take a nap. Otherwise, I'm not going to have the energy tonight that I need. It's been a really interesting process and a really cool learning experience, even though it's unfortunate. It's been incredible to connect with other people who have all sorts of disabilities. When I was wondering if I had MS or cancer or some sort of autoimmune disease, it really helped me look around and empathize with other people who were in that situation. I was wondering, will I be wheelchair bound the rest of my life? Will I ever be able to ride again? What does this mean for my income? How do other people with disabilities make money and support their families? How does this impact my family dynamics? It's been fascinating, and it's given me a lot of empathy to connect with other people dealing with similar situations, albeit different. So my doctors told me, when you make that list of all the things you need to do and you're just doing the top 10%, mountain biking doesn't get to be in the top 10%. You have to absolutely remove it. Well, mountain biking is how I make an income and provide for my family. So I was really left with a struggle. How do I keep that on the list without draining my body? And I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out. There's a very real possibility that at the end of this, after I've exhausted all the different options out there, I'm not able to ride a bike anymore. But I have hope that A, I will kick this one day, B, with education and connecting with other people with similar issues, I can find some answers, and C, even if it takes a while to kick this, I still think there are some cool technologies out there in the bike world to help make riding easier. And so this is a learning journey. This is a learning journey for me to understand how to talk about disabilities and limitations. I don't have the language for that right now. I don't know the proper way to ask someone about their limitations without being offensive. And I think sometimes that prevents us from having these discussions that need to happen. We're so worried about saying the wrong thing or offending, or we're so quick to be offended or quick to cancel someone or point the finger at them for not being sensitive enough that we've made it this scary place to just try to connect with humans. So you're going to see my language about this improve and mature as I go through in this learning journey. I don't have the right terms to describe what I'm dealing with or what other people are dealing with. But I hope that we can give each other a little bit of grace as we go through this and we try our best to make sense of this situation. So if my doctors tell me to stop riding, why do I still want to keep riding? There's lots of reasons, but the main reason for me is the way that I have seen riding change people's lives. One of the most meaningful things I've ever done in my life is coach on my high school mountain bike team. And watching kids come in with very low self-confidence, very poor fitness, very little social skills or friends, and watching them completely transform in 3 to 4 months is one of the most rewarding things ever. And the bicycle is an incredible tool to help people grow and develop, especially teens. I don't want to lose that, and I want to cling on to that and still help in some way. There are many ways I can help without riding, but there's nothing that beats being on the trail with them, helping them get through that hurdle when they're stuck or about ready to give up or in tears. I've been there, we've all been there, and we get it. Cycling is also one of my favorite ways to enjoy nature. There are other ways I could enjoy nature, but cycling's my favorite. And what I miss the most in the last 8 to 48 months when my cycling's really been impacted are bike packing trips with my buddies. Long days, even if it's not the world's most exciting trail, just being in nature, having the wind blow through your hair, setting up camp, hearing the animals, exploring the maps, finding new places and exploring. I miss that desperately. And that is something I crave and I hope to be able to reincorporate into my adjusted life here. I also love mountain bike technology and teaching about it. I've created my life around this. I've moved states to live in a mountain bike mecca here in Sedona so that I can ride more and enjoy the technical terrain that there is here. There aren't a whole lot of things that my brain is good at. And I've tried a whole bunch of different careers, but what my brain really seems to click with and find comes with ease is explaining how things work on a bike, fixing bikes, working on them, designing them, explaining how they ride, reviewing things, reviewing the technology and teaching about that. That seems to come easy to me. And it's the closest thing I've felt to my purpose in life as far as my career goes. And I'm not ready to hang that up yet. Maybe I'm in denial and I'm desperately hanging on to it, but I actually think there's a lot of hope in this and this new lens at looking at cycling through this disability, disease, limitation is going to bring a lot of awareness to me, a lot of insight that can actually help me with my future bike reviews as well when I do get healthy. So about once a month, I feel healthy enough to ride for about 40 minutes, and I'll usually save that energy for a review or a shootout or an experiment because this is my only income for my family. And that takes top priority. So I don't ride for fun or enjoyment because I save that energy for when I do it for work. And that's okay. I do it so infrequently that even though it's work, it's still really exciting and it's always a treat to get on a bike. I will never, ever take it for granted when I can throw a leg over a bike and pedal somewhere and not have it absolutely trash the next 2 weeks of my life. That will be such a joy. And the things I took for granted before, I'm definitely not taking for granted now. If I take it easy and I really take care of my health and I get lucky and I don't get sick, maybe I could ride every other week, which would be wonderful. But I have to be careful because I get on the bike, I get excited, I ride like I used to, which is a very active, engaged, dynamic riding style, up and over rocks, kind of trialsy, and that drains you really fast. So I may have to change the type of riding I do as well to something mellower and easier so that I can still get out there. A lot of this journey is psychological and mental and maybe even spiritual in a sense, but I find myself feeling unworthy to think of myself in the same realm as people with bigger limitations like a missing limb or paralysis or something like that. But as I think about it and I think about my own journey and how I view myself and others, I don't think it's helpful to create a hierarchy of who's got it the worst and think, well, if they have it worse than me, I can't talk to them about this because I can't relate to them. I think it's more important to have an open, honest dialogue and just talk about it rather than worry who's got it worst. Do I have a disability? I have no idea. Not to the level that some people do, but yes, in some ways. But I'm going to have to get over my own insecurities thinking that, well, I don't have a big disability compared to some other people, so I don't even belong in the same room or the same sentence as them. We're all trying to figure this out, and so we're going to have an open and welcoming environment here for people of all abilities to talk through this as we try to find some answers and do some experiments to see what works for different groups of people. So what are my goals for this series? My goals are to try anything out there that I can to help me be able to keep enjoying riding and be creative and open-minded to ways that maybe I haven't ridden before or places I haven't ridden before or approaches to riding that I've never taken before to see if I can still hang on to that dream of riding regularly without it completely destroying my health. Seems ironic that an active sport like mountain biking can hurt your health, but when you have chronic conditions and limitations, it can hurt your health. One of the things I miss most about riding is bike packing, and I really want to find a way to still explore by bike, spend the night somewhere, and continue the journey the next day. Maybe that's a pipe dream with my limited body battery, but that's a goal, is to find a way to still enjoy these things. Maybe it's going to require incorporating hotels and spending the night in a hotel instead of in a tent under the stars. I'd pick the tent every time, but if the option is staying in a hotel or not bike packing, staying in the hotel wins. So maybe we'll find a new way to enjoy touring and bike packing that I've never experienced before, and have to just change a couple things to make it work for me. That would be probably my number one goal, more than writing technical stuff again, is being able to bike pack. Goal number two, finding a way to still ride and encourage and coach my student athletes on my high school team. Number three, be able to ride as a family and still enjoy the great outdoors together on bikes. If I could do those three, it would be a miracle, and I would be absolutely thrilled. I have a few theories as to how to make this work. Number one, as I learn more about this illness, I'll be able to manage it better so my body battery grows instead of shrinks. Number two, I've got to change the way that I ride. I moved to Sedona because I love big, technical, lumpy, slow speed, high energy, like bunny hoppy, trialsy climbs. I have a very dynamic riding style. I lift up the bike a lot and spring up things and sprint into things, and I like the climbs more than the descents. And that's a very inefficient way to ride. It's a very exhausting way to ride. It's what I love, but I have a feeling that's gonna have to change. I don't have enough energy to do that right now. Hopefully I can get back to that, but I think I'm gonna have to calm it down and find enjoyment in less exciting, less technical ways to ride. I have a hypothesis that the right e-bike might be an effective tool, but I'm not sure. I haven't ridden a ton of different e-bikes, and I'm not sure they're the magic bullet that everyone says they are for people with disabilities or limitations, but they do some things that normal bikes don't. So I'm excited to explore that option to see in what ways do they make it easier and in what ways do they make it harder. It'd be great if getting the right e-bike allowed me to get out there and enjoy the trails like I used to, or at least as close to as I used to as possible. Another hypothesis I have is that I'm gonna have to change my mindset a lot and stop reverting back to trying to ride the way I used to pre-sickness and try to find a new normal that still brings me the benefits of riding as much as possible, at least. The likelihood of me being able to climb some of Sedona's most technical climbs is going down as this illness progresses, but that doesn't mean my enjoyment for the sport has to. But I think I need to change more than my equipment needs to change. So that'll be an interesting thing to explore as well. I have another hypothesis that I'm not the only one suffering with this stuff, even if we have different conditions. Just from the short amount of time I've been announcing my chronic illness, so many people have come out of the woodwork and said, finally, someone who gets me, someone who understands. And so another hypothesis is that we're not alone and that there's an option for many of us to get together and still socialize and enjoy time together, even on a bike, despite our limitations. So I'm hoping to find a way to connect and do group rides in a way that works for all of us, or maybe meetups or something like that. Maybe as a sort of support group or just a way to still enjoy meeting up with people, getting outside, socializing, even if it means recreating a little differently than we used to. I also have a hypothesis that one day I will overcome this. I hold on to that hope, but I'm not saving my joy only for that. I'm gonna find a way to enjoy life despite the limitations. And if I ever overcome this or make it manageable where I can ride pretty normally again, wonderful. If not, at least I've learned some really interesting tools along the way to make life as enjoyable as possible on a bike despite the limitations. I also have another hypothesis that I will learn lots of things I haven't even conceived of right now. My hypothesis is that there are a lot of things I'm not aware of that I'm going to become aware of through this journey. And that excites me. I love learning. I love being in the position of the learner where nothing's quite clicked yet. And you're kind of like, okay, I see this working with someone else. It's not working with me yet, just waiting for the aha moment. I love learning. I love teaching. I love experimenting. And I hope you love it too as we go on this journey together to see what we can learn together through these experiments. So again, my goal and whole purpose of this mini series about my quest to continue riding through chronic illness is to try different technologies, try different mindsets, try different approaches to cycling to maximize my favorite things about cycling without negatively impacting my health too much. There are some days that my health is really good and some days that my health is really low. This is all going to be part of the learning, and I wish it were cut and dry and we could just focus on one variable to tweak, but we're dealing with many unknown variables. Either way, it's a learning experience. But that's why I created this channel, to focus on learning and conducting experiments so we can all learn together. So thanks for joining with me. If you have anyone in your life who would benefit from this message and who needs a little bit of hope, and maybe they're not able to ride as much as they used to, or maybe their riding involves a limitation or an adaptation that the average person doesn't have to think about, please send them this video and get them in contact with me. I'm going to be looking to feature more people that have found creative ways to overcome their limitations through this series, and we hope to learn from them to see what makes cycling work for them, what doesn't, so that we can incorporate this into our own cycling as well. Thanks for being positive. Thanks for being supportive to everyone in the comments. Thanks for watching and being part of the Big Brain family. Take care.